All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy.
Greetings, folks. Welcome to episode 369 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I am your host this week, Marcus Almighty, on the board, and joined with me this week is my good friend and partner in podcasting crime, Mr. Ken Keenan, better known as 69th Blizzard on the board. Greetings, Ken.
Greetings, thank you. Always good to be here, of course.
Yes, we were supposed to have Lonnie with us, but he is tied up with work, and work, of course, comes first because you can't feed your family with podcasting money, as we all know very well. So the job comes first. So that's, of course, an acceptable reason, and we wish Lonnie well and hope that he's doing okay out there in the field. And our main man, Mr. Julian Gill, is unable to join us as well. He's feeling a little down in the gutter a bit. So I guess good luck, Julian, and hope you feel better soon. And we will see him back on the streams, I'm sure, or on the net very soon.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to be talking a bit about many things, I'm sure, but it's going to be a topic bonanza, so to speak. We're going to have a lot of things to discuss this week. And one of the first things that we're going to talk about is the Kiss meet and greets that are happening out there. Now, this is a topic of great debate on the board, and not only just on our KissFAQ message board, but I see it all over the place on Kiss Facebook pages and groups and stuff like that. The great debate about whether these meet and greets are worth the money Kiss are asking for, when essentially all they're going to be doing is just standing in front of a large plexiglass screen and Kiss behind there, kind of just waving, behind your back kind of deal. And I don't know how much these meet and greets cost. This is why I'm glad I have our good friend Mr. Ken Keenan here, who's the man with the answers, I'm sure. But let's put it this way, Ken. Do you think that the amount of money being spent for these meet and greets are worth it with the way that they're being done right now?
With the way they're being done right now, with less contact or closeness, and activity, with the members of the Kiss, I'm going to say no, because there's not that closeness, of talking to them and or anything like that. Though a lot of these meet and greets, it's like a quick hi and stuff like that. But at least the photo part, I think they should cut a portion of the refund part of the money, I think, for that part of it, just because you're expecting to be a good photo with Kiss. It's a photo not exactly with Kiss. You're standing in front of a plexiglass, see-through plexiglass with Kiss standing behind it. I could almost attribute, or compare it to, say you have a lot of business offices have plexiglass or glass, conference rooms.
Dividers?
Yeah, dividers too. That's but big conference room, which I've seen, in offices I've worked in, and it's all glass, and you can see everything outside. You're in the conference room, you can see everybody outside and their cubicles and all that kind of stuff going on out there. So it's kind of like that. It's imagine me standing in the conference room up to my back to the glass, and then Kiss is standing out there, talking with each other, kind of thing. And someone took a picture of me, and they, there's Kiss on the backside there, It's kind of, loses that, personal kind of thing. With it. So for that reason, yes, it's kind of funky. Unfortunately, like Julian and I, we paid way ahead before all this. We knew what was going to happen anyway. There's no way to say, oh, can I just have this certain amount of money back or whatever. If I think I cancel it, I might cancel the whole bloody thing. But I think, it is what it is. Now, from Kiss's standpoint, on their side, I understand why they're doing it, and because of COVID and all that. But the thing is, and it's good. They're being safe. Okay, I understand that. They can cancel their tour and the whole bit, if someone gets sick. So I understand that, but I think they should refund a portion of the money back, because that picture is going to be as good as a picture without the plexiglass there.
Now, that's very good points you brought up, Ken, and I totally agree with you, because obviously the main thing KISS, I think, are thinking about is the overall health of not only themselves, but their crew and the people that are coming as well. Yeah. Now, obviously, if they were to cancel their tour because somebody got sick, I'm sure then people would be really outraged and angry, because, it's, again, yet another cancellation. So you have to kind of weigh it. Are you going to be, are you going to be pissed off that you're going to see them behind a screen and potentially, letting the tour go a little bit longer, or hopefully all the way to the end because they're being safe? Or, are you willing to roll that dice? I don't think there's anything worth doing. I don't think a photograph is worth taking that risk, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion, okay? But that leads us to another topic, of course, which is related to this, and that is the announcement of Peter Criss saying that he is no longer going to be appearing at these appearances that he booked. And he came right out and said it. The Delta variant, which we know is running rampant in the United States right now, and it's picking up a little bit of steam in Canada, luckily not so badly here, but it's a serious thing, and people are getting sick from it. And the man's in his late 70s, isn't he? Or maybe even his 80s, or close to 80?
He's like, I want to say he's around 75. I could be wrong, but somewhere around there.
So he's obviously clearly thinking about his health, and rightly he should be, because this is not really any kind of like a world tour he's doing. This is just some, autograph signing at some convention thing. So, and again, he said he was going to be put behind a plexiglass thing, and gloves and glasses and all that stuff. And he even said himself, he goes, while he may be safe with all those precautions in hand, he's kind of concerned about the people that have to line up and wait in, hotel waiting rooms and this and that, and who are not going to be maybe separated as much as they should be, maybe not organized as good as he thinks it could be. So he decided to pull the parachute and get the hell out of there, Right. So What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't blame him at all. Yeah, and I just checked. He is 75. I was guessing, but he's 75. Yeah, you can't blame him. A lot of people are canceling shows and even tours at this point. Appearances. Yeah, you don't want to get that. Even though he's, I believe he's vaccinated. But you can get something and pass it on. Anyway, and so yeah, I have no problem with that. As a side note, I did read today too, is Alice Cooper. I was reading canceled a bunch of his meet and greet things, and is allowing a refund or a downgrade. Downgrade with the partial refund to a different different kind of VIP experience,
VIP level,
or a full refund. So
wow.
So yeah. So he's done that too.
Well, see, but there's the thing, like you just said, Ken. Can they do this? Could KISS do that? Of course they could do that. This all boils down to whether they want to do that. Obviously, because if Alice Cooper can do it, I don't think that his management is some kind of ultra, brainiac, super intelligent people that KISS don't have. They got Doc McGee. I'm sure they could organize this very easily to refund people if they wanted to. I think it just boils down to that, they like the money, they wanted to come in, and they're trying to find any way to make it happen so that they don't have to do those sorts of refunds. Sure, you can bash me if you want for me saying that, but, clearly that's the case, because it's just as Ken said, now if Alice Cooper's offering that, why can't Kiss offer it?
Yeah,
right?
they perfectly could, but
Now, here's another thing I was thinking about too. There's been a lot of talk about the future of the music business and touring and concerts and stuff like that, and this pertains to what we're talking about now. Here is, this may not be something that everybody might be hip to, but it is an idea that could be floated around and maybe improved on. But why not offer something virtually to the fans? Why not say, okay, if you buy your ticket and you had a VIP for a photo, instead of going for the photo, we'll give you a special card. When the tour is done, you'll get 10 minutes FaceTime with Gene or with Paul or with somebody from the band, or maybe just Gene and Paul together on, let's say, Skype, and they'll come on 10 minutes. You can talk to them with whatever you want and do something virtually with them in exchange of not doing the meet and greet in person. Now, sure, they'll have to really organize that and have, the proper, things done in order to, get that done in a orderly fashion. But, this kind of thing might be the way of the future for some of these kind of things, if people are not willing to go the whole meet and greet thing, and hopefully the virus thing might be gone in the way of the dodo bird in a few years, and we don't even need to think about that. But maybe some of these things need to be thought about, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's a good idea. Whether they would do that, I don't know. We don't know what they would do. Yeah. And maybe that's something they'll do down the road anyway. When they stop touring, they may, do those kind of things to allow, fans to talk to them or whatever. Whatever it is always gonna be a price on it. So, I mean, I could see it happening. You never know.
So, and this brings up one last point. This is interesting how we've gone to many different points from this one original topic, and we still have other things to talk about. And that is, what do you think? And this is on the board too. So this is thank you very much to somebody on the board who brought this up. And that is, where does this leave the Kiss cruise? Okay. So when, with this in mind now, what are your thoughts or your gut feeling about the Kiss cruise? Do you think things will be, organized well enough that they'll go through with it? Or do you have a feeling that this might be another one of these things that might see a full refund?
Yeah, I think it had to do with, I think I saw it, I went by that one quickly, but it had to do with a Carnival cruise that had a bunch of sick passengers on it, a cruise recently, and that they had to, I don't know, cancel, come back, whatever, I don't know. I didn't read all the details, but it sounds
it's right here. The outbreak of 27 cases was discovered aboard the ship on the 4th day of an 8-day cruise. Passenger dies with COVID as outbreak hits Carnival cruise ship.
Yeah, so it's kind of scary. Was it Fifth Man, Sixth Man, whatever it's called? Is it part of Carnival? Is it that part?
I have no idea. I've never been on the cruise.
Yes, well, either way, it's still a cruise ship where you're getting a bunch of people on there together in close proximity, where they can't. There's nowhere else to go, kind of thing. You're stuck, and I mean, unless you're going to hide in your your
cabin.
room or cabin, which is not going to, why even go then if you're going to do that? So, I mean, I got an email, I think it was yesterday, just today or yesterday, from Sixth Man, because they're still booking, it's not sold out. So they're still, so I'm thinking some people, are shying away from it or canceled or whatever because of this Delta still going on right now. So, I it's very possible that may get canceled. I could see it happening because you're gonna get a lot of people together, and if this Delta thing or the virus doesn't get knocked down a lot in the next month, then I could see them canceling it.
Yeah, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do remember when Julian
Yeah.
went on a cruise, he came back and was pretty sick just from a regular flu,
Oh yeah.
from one of those things, remember?
Yeah.
So I mean, I can only imagine the probabilities on these kind of cruises to get something far worse. Now, of course, knowing that this kind of thing is floating around, sure, there could be extra precautions taken and things can be done to maybe lessen the
Yes.
chances of it. Now, of course, if more people got the vaccinations, then that would be another thing as well, right? Because then, the illness part of it would be far less, right?
That and
But
mask.
we're not here to talk politics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But but that's another factor to put in as well, because I don't know what's going on in America here, but there's always talk here, like in one of our provinces in Quebec, they're fully going through with this whole COVID vaccine passport thing there to prove that you have gotten your shots, otherwise they ain't letting you in there, right? And Quebec's a very independent sort of operated province here. They like doing things their own way outside of the federal government here, so I'm not surprised that they did that. But it's the way I kind of look at it is that you have to kind of either lean one way or the other, right? Either you're going to let people be honest with it and come on board and say, I'm going to do my best to, follow all the rules, or people might not feel safe enough and they're not going to sell enough tickets and they might have to get rid of it anyways that way, right?
Yeah. So, I don't know what's going to happen in this anymore. And the passport thing, there's a passport and they have the cards. They're selling illegal one, there's a forged or illegal ones now, cards that are being sold out there. So they need to, I don't know how, do something. I mean, I have a card and then I have a digital code thing too I got that you can get from the state or whatever. So I don't know how, if people are forging things or doing fake ones, then I don't know how they're gonna really mitigate that stuff.
True. Okay, so let's get on to a little bit more optimistic topic now, or something that's a little less controversial. Well, maybe not less controversial. We'll see. But
right.
As we know, August 21st has passed recently, and in 2012, on August 21st in 2012, came out Kiss Destroyer Resurrected. Now, here's an album that has, again, within the Kiss community, people either love it or they don't love it. There you go. Ken even has the
newer copy,
the Walmart copy.
Yeah.
Very nice. We don't get that here in our Walmarts, unfortunately.
Oh.
So I wasn't able to get any copy of that. But the interesting thing is, with the 10 years going to be next year with it, I was very curious to talk to you, Ken, and of course to the listeners as well. Do you think that this album has aged well, and what were your initial thoughts? Let's start with that. What were your initial thoughts when you heard that they were going to be doing this release to begin with?
Yeah, well, initially I thought, we're going to get something pretty, cool and special. And so, I was excited about it. I thought it might be a double album or something like that, maybe with other extra tracks on it. And maybe it was originally intended to be something like that. It may have been. Or they should have done something at least like that. But I was excited about it. I thought, okay, this is cool. I'm looking forward to it, and of course I ordered it right away and stuff. But there was problems, and we'll talk about it. There were some problems with it at first, and then there was things that I thought could have been done better or differently.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part for me is back in that time period of 2012, and actually a bit before that, like let's say the beginning of 2012, I was in Vancouver working on a record, and one of my friends who I was working with at that time was good friends with Garth Richardson, known engineer, producer. He's the one who did Rage Against the Machine and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he was the one who was running that school, the Nimbus school there in Vancouver. And he, in one of his studios there was a bunch of hard drives on the table there. And what was happening was that because Bob Ezrin is tied to that school as a funder, and he's also a person who supports it financially and also as far as teaching. Bob Ezrin had the hard drives there of the Kiss Destroyer tracks, and we only found out because we did a little hey man, what is that thing? I can't tell you. No, come on man, you can trust us. You can come on, And when one of the guys finally let it leak, he goes, hey, Bob's here doing some session stuff. He's remixing a record. And then I only ended up finding out what it was in more detail because my friend who I did the record with got asked to come in to do some session work for it. In regards to some overdubbing that was done, as far as they needed some crowd noise. I guess it was maybe for some of the stuff they wanted to enhance, maybe some of the things maybe I'm not sure if it was in regard to that thing at the end, the rock and roll party thing at the end.
Rock and roll party, yeah.
Or it might have even been parts of God of Thunder or something, but there was something that they needed extra people in to make just these noises for, right? And he was in there, and then it came out that it was that album. So when I first heard that, I was like, wow, they're remixing that whole thing. That's unbelievable. That I thought that they were doing that, considering how heralded this album was in Kiss eyes. I thought that would probably be the last one they would probably touch. I mean, I can think of 2 or 3 records right off the top of my head that deserve a remix before Destroyer does.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So my first reaction was surprised, and I wanted to find out in much more detail what was going on with this. So we'll get into that as we talk about this a bit more. But so when you got this record, what was your reaction, as far as the packaging and then even the sound of it? What was your reaction?
Yeah, it was kind of weird at first, the sound of it. Get used to it because you've listened to the original Destroyer for so long, I mean, for 40 years or whatever, right? So it was kind of weird from that standpoint. And some of the extra sounds in it was kind of, it was interesting hearing the different sounds that I wasn't used to hearing, or the drums brought forward more, or extra vocals in I think it's in Shout Out Loud, I think, or one of them anyway.
And Beth has some extra vocals there.
Something going on, yeah. There's a number of things, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. But the thing is, I was kind of disappointed that I thought, well, they should have had both. Should have been at least a double CD. Either had the original one and then the new one. You can just do a comparison, or whatever. Or have the new one and then have something, if there's extra tracks or demos available, or maybe a live show from '76, from the tour, something like that. That's what I thought. One of those kind of things would have been cool. So after a while, I listened to it and I kind of just put it away. There was a problem with it at the beginning because there was a skip on the very first release of the CD on Flaming Youth, where it's missing a second. It would skip a second, as part of the beginning of the song. So I got a replacement one from Universal. Someone on the board had found the person. They said, email this person and they'll take care of you. So I had my CD, it was no good. I said, I have the problem, it has a skip or whatever, and they mailed the new one straight from wherever for free. Didn't have to return the old one. So I have 2 copies of that, one with the bad, one with the problem and one without it. But yeah, and then I just kind of, haven't listened to it much. Then I listen to it more nowadays, and I think I like it better now than I did back when it first came out.
So that skip that you mentioned that's on the CD, was that skip also present on the vinyl?
I think it was also. Well, I want to say it was also on the vinyl too, because originally it was the CD and the vinyl. I think it did. I have the vinyl. Well, I have two vinyls. I might have the other one too. I might have a third one. If I had a skipped one that had a problem, I'm sure I had that one. I have that one too. There's a similar thing that happened to Love Gun too. We know about. But yeah, so I know for sure the CD. I have both of those. I don't know about if I have both of the vinyls. I have a vinyl here, and I don't know if it was. This could be the original. Well, I know it's the original one here too. That came out, but I guess I can check it. But I'm not gonna check it right now. Newly remixed, this was the original one that came out.
Yeah.
It says 2012. That's all I know. I can't remember if it had a skip on it too. So
interesting.
I think it did. I think it did though. But I'm having a hard time remembering. But I think it did.
Yeah. Now the funny thing is, I remember when I first got the record. I listened to it, and there's a few things that immediately jumped out at me right away. Obviously, drums were a little bit more clearer up front. The bottom end overall was a little bit more present. The guitars were a little bit more panned out. There was also like the accident part at the end, going into King of the Nighttime World. There was so much extra glass added to that crash. It was almost painful to listen to. And when I first heard it, I was like, whoa, like what the hell happened there? And then there were some things that were added that I thought was cool. Like, for example, they added back the acoustic guitar on Beth that was very not there on the original version of it, right? So there were things in there that I liked that they did, and obviously there were some things I thought that they just really just overblew for the sake of, I think, just making it different, like that whole thing with the glass and all that. Now, it was interesting because when you look into in the booklet, and also I remember hearing this from the guys at the studio there too, saying that his options as far as doing something drastic with the album was not possible because Bob Ezrin likes recording with effects straight to tape. He likes doing what's called like doing sub mixings, where he does like he'll put all the guitars on a left-right channel, like track 4 and 5 will be all the rhythm guitars. He'll put the drums, kick on one track, a snare on one track, and then the rest of the kit on stereo. So he doesn't have it spread out as much as you could in more modern recordings. I think back in the day, because they did 16 track for Destroyer, if I'm not mistaken. So their tracks were a little limited, and him doing that didn't give him as many options sonically as he could have had. So that was interesting that his own kind of recording technique came back to bite him a little bit in the remix of things. Now, so I think personally, that the album, in my opinion, has gotten a bit better in my eyes than it did when I first heard it. I think at first I was a little like, this isn't anything that I thought was like. I expected far more, but then once I started learning about the little ins and outs, about the sessions, and like I just said, how he had not as many options as far as the mixing was concerned, then I kind of give it a little bit more of a pass, saying, okay, well, for what he had available, he did quite a bit with that stuff. I'm curious, what did you think about them using the original artwork for the cover?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool that they used the original painting by was it Ken Kelly, right? Yeah, the actual from the painting itself, because they didn't when it first happened, and he did the original painting. That was their outfits at the time, but then they got redesigned outfits, so he had to repaint the whole darn thing. And I thought that's a cool touch, making it it's kind of stand on its own from the original Destroyer. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I thought was a bit of a miss, and I'm sure that knowing you and how you kind of have this grandiose wish that Kiss will do these kinds of elaborate box sets, I think that the one big miss on this is something that you mentioned earlier, that they didn't do a second CD. Like, I know on vinyl that probably wouldn't have been a very worth doing, but on CD they could have at least did maybe a second CD disc that had some of the demos or some of the early versions of it, or some unused songs, like Rumble or some of these other songs that didn't make the album, right? I think that they should have really did that, because it would have been a good stamp or timestamp of that time period to show what they were doing and what they were working on at that time period. So, that's always been the great mystery, I think, Ken, is why Kiss and Kiss's label refuses to kind of go and go the extra mile on this stuff. So I don't understand why they don't go and do that.
They haven't got
Julian just mentioned here on the thing here, just saying that tonight's show just got canceled. Is he talking about a Kiss show?
I believe he's talking about, because I got the same message. So breaking news, people. You're hearing it, maybe first, or at least on the podcast. That sounds like the Kiss show got canceled tonight. And wasn't that going to be, which one was that? Is that Pennsylvania?
Star Lake Pavilion, Burgettstown, Pennsylvania.
So, I wonder what's going on. Or someone didn't pass a COVID test or something, but we'll have to check into that. But I'm sure it'll be on the board. The full news.
It says right here, sadly, okay, so I'll read this here. So this is a live thing that we're doing for you people. This is unbelievable. It's
happening as we speak.
Yeah, so somebody just posted here saying that, sadly, I just overheard the venue staff saying that tonight's show is canceled. Paul was suspiciously absent from the sound check performance, and the band performed as a trio. Gene said that Paul was stuck in traffic. Yikes, I hope there's not something seriously wrong. So...
so it could be a number of things.
It could be a few things. I mean, to cancel the show, I mean, that's got to be some pretty serious traffic to get, to cancel a show. And if he wasn't there already during sound check, I mean, some bells are going off now here, because I don't think they've ever did sound checks like without one another. I mean, maybe it's not overly suspicious thinking it that way, but knowing how the band is, I mean, if people were suspicious of that, then obviously it's out of the ordinary. What are your thoughts, Ken?
Well, if Paul wasn't there, either it's a COVID related, like he tested positive or came in contact with someone who's positive, or there was that other show back many years ago in LA where they did not cancel it, but Kiss played as a 3-piece, and because Paul had heart palpitations or something like that, where his heart was racing for some crazy over 200 whatever beats per minute or something like that, and so I don't know if it could be something like that. Hopefully he's okay either way. So I guess right now it's speculation on why it happened. But I mean, the percentage is telling me it's something to do with COVID. But it could be something else, obviously.
No, let's not jump the gun here, people. When we say it could be something COVID related, it could just be something like they found out that he came and contacted somebody, and maybe they're deciding to cancel because of that and maybe isolate Paul. Who knows? I mean, we don't know for certain yet what's going on with that, but we're just hearing this as it's happening right now. So it's interesting that Julian just put here that the show has been postponed.
No,
so
it's
not being canceled.
Fully canceled.
But so I guess they're going to be rebooking it at a later time. So that kind of gives it a little bit more positivity that it's not something really drastic. So, but we don't know what it is. I mean, could it be COVID related? May not be. I'm sure we're going to find out soon enough. But this is the world that we're living in right now, it seems, because I know that when bands started going back on tour, every band that I've kind of heard online talking about things and talking about getting back on tour, all of them have kind of said the same thing. They're almost kind of hinting at how long will this last? You know what I mean? Like, how long will it be till we'll have to cancel? It's almost like people are going in now touring with the opinion that they know it's not going to be a permanent thing. So
yeah, another
world.
thing that Julian just gave us says that Paul did mention that he wasn't feeling good yesterday. So maybe there's something going on there. Maybe he has something. Maybe he has your standard flu or something like that. So yeah. To me, I don't think they could do a 3-piece unless they these days, because it's not all. Let's face it, it's not all live. I don't know how they would do that if you can have Gene singing and you can still hear Paul on vocals or something.
Well, they just don't do Paul's songs.
They would have to just say, okay, we're just going to rearrange this set list and we're just going to do Gene's song. Or Gene, obviously they have a prompter for the lyrics, so Gene wouldn't have to be worked too hard to try to remember lyrics.
And the thing is too, don't forget, Ken, really all they have to do is just go, hey, Mr. Sound Guy, you can turn the computer off today. We don't need Paul's vocals. We're just going to play it and just let's sing as we do normally.
No
because
click
really
track or
Paul,
whatever.
not for anybody else. Yeah, they can just perform it as they did before.
Yeah.
And in fact, it may be actually better for them because they don't have to follow any kind of click. They can just play it as they want to.
Yeah.
And there you go. But now, I'm not saying that we want that to happen.
Not that we want that to happen, but that it was. I'm sure that was an option that they were thinking, because this is like really late notice. To postpone the concert at this late point. So that's pretty.
Yeah, and don't forget, canceling a show is a pricey affair for bands. You're talking about, possible promoters getting very pissed off, saying that, and sometimes promoters sue bands for doing that kind of shit. But I'm sure KISS has these kind of things, in contract and writing, that if something were to happen, especially in the COVID times now, I don't think that any promoter would be surprised if things get canceled. Now, back in the day before all this, canceling a show was a pricey affair. So, it has to be something pretty serious to have to go to that extent.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll have
interesting.
To name the show. I think is Paul sick, or did he listen to Resurrected? Is that why he's sick? We don't know. So we'll see. I hope he's okay. I hope it's just a little, one day thing, and he's back at it. So we'll see what happens in the news. I guess we'll just have to wait for it as it comes out.
Now, one more thing I think that would be cool to talk about.
Yes.
And this is something that we didn't discuss before starting the show, so it's going to be a surprise to you. And that is, as we all know, Gene Simmons said some very mean things about David Lee Roth not too long ago.
We talked about it a little bit last week,
yeah. And it was interesting that Paul Stanley came on shortly after saying some amazingly fantastic things about David Lee Roth.
Right.
Saying how he remembered that, when he saw him in Madison Square Garden, saying, this is the future of frontmen, blah, 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 blah. almost seeming like he was doing some mop-up cleanup work for Gene's crap again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then I heard and saw that Gene issued an apology
Yes.
to David Lee Roth about it. So I'm curious to get your comments, Ken, on this whole fiasco. Do you think that Paul, maybe came in and said, Gene, what the hell are you doing, you idiot? And, mopped up first and then told him, listen, you better go and apologize? What do you think?
Yeah, something like that. I imagine Paul said, what did you do? And so Paul immediately, to try to save Gene or make it look like, nothing. There's nothing wrong. It's not Kiss that feels that way, sort of thing. And then with Gene's apology, which is a half apology because he said, well, I guess I hurt David's feelings, and I shouldn't have said that because he says his mouth kind of just runs, and goes. It made it sound like when he was apologizing that it sounded like that what he said was supposedly maybe he made it sound like it's out of context the way it was worded by Rolling Stone. So like he didn't say it in the sequence or did what it was said there, the Elvis part as related to David Lee Roth part. Because that was together, it made it look like, okay, yeah, he's talking about saying, David Lee Roth is off the tour, and it's because now he's fat and bloated, like, Elvis on the floor, whatever, when he died, something like that. So he made it sound like it was just out of context, that was from some other part of the discussion, and those really shouldn't have been together. But then he said, well, he's sorry that he hurt David's feelings. But at least he apologized. I don't know if he's really sorry, but at least he did that. And then Paul did his mop up or clean up of, damage control kind of thing for Kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, so. Which is, I found it kind of half-hearted, to be quite honest with you. It just doesn't seem very genuine, and I think it's just because I don't think Gene likes being called out to the mat like that, saying that you screwed up, and he doesn't. I don't think he likes admitting that kind of stuff. But at least they did that. Because David's reaction to it was just absolutely hilarious. That picture that he made there of that little baby giving the finger.
Yeah.
That was absolutely hilarious.
It's funny with the sunglasses on.
Yeah. So that's another interesting thing. But one thing I think we should also bring up as well, and this is sort of Kiss related as well. Recently, we just lost Charlie Watts. He had passed away.
Yeah.
Drummer of the Rolling Stones, and the reason why I kind of bring that up too is because Kiss, Ace Frehley, doing 2000 Man on Dynasty, which is a Rolling Stones song.
Yeah.
There's a connection there. So obviously, they were fans of the Rolling Stones. And I think it's, just out of respect for Charlie and for the Stones, I think it was a good idea to bring it up. What were your thoughts about the whole passing of Charlie, and what's your kind of view on the Rolling Stones in general?
Yeah, well, it's sad, obviously, that, I think even the day before was it Everly, one of the Everly brothers passed too. Yeah. So, and then we had, like a week ago or so was, from Dusty from ZZ Top. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's going to be more and more, unfortunately. But yeah, there's he was there. Charlie Watts was there from the beginning of the Stones all the way till the end. And it sounded like, he was just ill or something going on with him, where he couldn't, be part of their touring or something like that. But I guess it was more serious. I understand he had cancer back in the early, I think throat cancer in the early 2000s or something like that. So you never know about that. Something like that can come back, creep back. Cancer is a strange, weird thing, and unfortunately, it's very deadly. So, but yeah, I mean, he's one of the classic, all-time great, steady drummers, and yeah, Kiss was influenced, definitely, as one of their influences. Obviously, if you listen to songs like, 2000 Man, because they covered it, but if you go back to Strutter, and then some of their other stuff that they've done, early Kiss stuff, they have that Stonesy feel. Even the one that they didn't release, I think we talked about it some weeks ago, it's Smoke, or one of those, have that Stonesy type guitar feel and rhythm. So it's sad, it's unfortunate. He'll be missed, definitely be missed by the Stones. But I have a feeling they'll probably continue. I think they were going to continue with this other drummer that I can't remember his name, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I had concerns when I heard about that first time when he pulled out, when he had to do that emergency operation. Usually when those kind of things happen, it's not good. I mean, look at Dusty, the same thing. He had an emergency thing that he had to do for medical reasons, and boom, he was gone. And same with Charlie. And for me, I was never really a big Stones fan when I was younger. I've gotten into them though much, much, much more over the last 5 to 10 years now. Getting a lot of their albums, hunting out certain pressings of stuff. I mean, I'm much more into the Stones now. And Stones, Charlie Watts is definitely one of these, keeping it, keeping the backbeat there. And, he was the foundation of that band. I mean, listen to songs like Honky Tonk Woman and Brown Sugar and, Start Me Up and stuff like that. That has Charlie Watts all over it, And Peter Criss, if I'm not mistaken, did actually put up a comment saying how much Charlie Watts meant to him as a drummer. And like you said, Strutter, stuff like that has a very much a sort of rock and roll vibe like that Charlie Watts would do. Another person that's important to bring up too, in the world of rock and metal, Eric Wagner of Trouble has passed away as well. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that band, but he's pretty big in the sort of metal doom sort of genre of music. Yeah. So people are starting to go left and right. So we're getting to that age now where people are going, and it's life. I mean, we can't expect people to live forever. I've had some really close people that I've loved and admired, like, Neil Peart of Rush, who went away probably a lot earlier than I ever expected him to. So, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who love the Stones and are shocked by it, and it makes me think about our guys in Kiss, like Peter and these guys. I mean, I'm glad that he's in good health, and him not doing the meet and greet that he was scheduled to do might be a good move on his part, because the last thing we want to hear is some last minute report that Peter Criss is not well and then he's gone from our lives. So it's just, you got to kind of keep these things in perspective, and as it were, right? Yeah.
And this Paul thing, and again, we were talking about the plexiglass, but what if he does have, something like COVID or the Delta virus or whatever? It was a good move then by Kiss to have that plexiglass, there in between them and the fans. So it makes you think about those kind of things. Like, that's why they're doing it that way, is because of that. And I'm not saying that's what he has, but it's. There's a possibility if he was not feeling good yesterday. Obviously, he's not feeling like he's probably feeling worse today, maybe, than he was yesterday, in order to postpone this show.
Exactly. So, before we close off tonight's show, we have one more thing that we can go through really quickly. I think that it'll take up, maybe another 10 minutes of time here. And that is something that I think Ken brought up on a prior episode that we didn't get around to, so we're going to tackle it today, and that is your favorite and your worst album backside cover designs.
Right.
So what is your favorite back album cover, and what is the worst one? So let's go with Ken.
I think I brought it up because I don't know, I want to say it was one of the live shows we did, some weeks back, and someone would ask that question, and we just didn't have time to even answer it. So I thought we can probably answer that now. All right, so let's start with maybe the favorite back cover of an album. And there's, some of the earlier stuff was okay, not that great. And it's very difficult. But I'm gonna say Alive. Well, not Alive, but I'm just gonna say Alive 2. Just because it has the bigger pictures of what was kind of in the small on the front. I think the back side of the album should have been the front, and vice versa on that one. With especially with the big Gene in the blood kind of classic photo. So I picked that one as kind of a favorite back cover for me.
Well, for me, it's ironic because I wasn't sure what you were gonna pick for your favorite.
I wasn't sure what I was
backside.
gonna pick either. Yeah.
But for me, and I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, most backside of Kiss albums are nothing to talk about. It's just very plain on the back and just the titles on the back, and that's about it. I mean, even the solo records is just black with just song titles on it. There's nothing really. It's like they put no effort in the backside design of these albums whatsoever. But the one that always struck me and always has, and I've always loved, is the back of Alive. I've always loved that whole shot of the audience and those guys holding up the sign. Sure. And now you can say, "Oh, that's not even a Kiss show." Anyway, okay, whatever.
It is.
We didn't know that
it's a
back
Kiss show.
when,
It's a Kiss show. Yeah.
we didn't know if that was true or not. Whatever. Even if it is or if it isn't, that's irrelevant. The fact is, it's a interesting picture. I love that shot, and it definitely gives you that vibe of that show. I mean, when you listen to it, you can. I remember looking at that back, listening to the album the first couple of times and going, wow, it must have been so awesome to be sitting in this arena and hearing this stuff being played live. So I think that's one of the times where they really, hit the ball out of the park, as they say, as far as a good design of a back cover. Now, as far as one that you don't like, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty, but what would you pick?
All right, so I mean, a lot of them are just plain. You can't even pick a plain album cover, that has nothing on it. So I'm not even gonna pick that. I'm gonna pick something like, what I don't like is, the back cover of Crazy Nights, because I think that's the one that has Paul, right, with his thong or whatever he was wearing. Yeah. It's like, do you really have to do that? There's no reason. it's like most of your fans are male, first of all, but it's just like, I mean, some of the other pictures were okay. It was just too, I don't know, they could have come up with something better. Even the and another one that we could have talked about is Animalize, where that's a kind of another one where the back cover probably should have been the front, and the front could have been the back, because even though they piecemealed that whole shot that was on the back of Animalize, it's better than the cover was on that one. But anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say the back of Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
I thought was ridiculous.
Now, I'm going to pick this one for one reason, because I remember that it really irked me for this one particular reason.
Yeah.
And it's not a very fantastic design. It's probably going to, fall into that bracket of those ones that you just said earlier that are very plain. And it's the back cover of Dynasty. Now, Dynasty is one of the records that I really like as a record. But I'll tell you why that back cover bothers me. Is that I've never big on this whole idea of just randomizing song titles on the back.
The order.
They never put the songs in the right order, and that really bugged me. Like, that really, really bothered me. When I was younger, I was like, so what the hell song am I listening to here? When I didn't know what the songs were, I've always been the kind of guy that just flips the back and say, okay, so I'm listening to this song first.
Right.
No, I'm not. What is this? Why is the... And I've never understood why they did that. And that's not the only record they did that on, I'm sure.
I think they did it on Unmasked and probably Love Gun, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never understood that. I'm trying to think to myself, what possible reason could they have done that? Like, what was the reasoning behind it? I just don't. It's never computed to me why they would do that.
The only thing
Any theories?
The only thing I could think of is they didn't know the song order. They did not know what the song order was going to be when they made the album cover, or it hadn't been finalized yet. So
yeah.
So what they did on Dynasty, for instance, they put it in alphabetical order instead. If you look at it, it starts with Charisma. And the story about that. That's why I played that album. Side 2 first, because Charisma. I just saw the back of the cover of the album, picked up without even looking at what side it was, picked up. I thought, okay, Charisma was going to be first. Which side is it? Oh, there's Charisma. Throw it on the turntable, and then I started playing it. So, yeah. So, again, I agree with you that they should put it in order of what the listening experience. Obviously, The Elder. Now that was another. They actually put it in order, I think. Maybe not on all of them, but where it started the Oath, and some of them were. Some were in various orders. So obviously, but yeah, that was a real mess up too on that one, I think. So
yeah,
I understand. I do understand that. And Dynasty, besides Dynasty, those songs out of order, it was very bland, kind of silver, just nothing going on. They could have done something there,
Absolutely. I mean, they had such fantastic front covers. Why couldn't they put the same approach into the back covers? I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me. But, it is what it is. They're still classic records, and they're still records that we love listening to on a daily basis. So that's that. Okay, so I think that's more than enough for this week as far as information for you fantastic listeners out there. We are keeping our fingers crossed that Paul is fine, and whatever is going on with this, we'll hear about it soon and get to the bottom of it. And I guess we will see you next week again, hopefully with Julian and Lonnie back with us. So until that time, on behalf of myself and Mr. Ken Keenan, we hope that you have a great evening, and we will all talk to you very soon. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.